Environment Canada has released its top weather stories of the year, with the record-breaking wildfires topping the list. Other major weather stories include Quebec's record wet July, resulting in major flooding, the Canada Day tornado in Alberta, which reached speeds of 275 kilometers an hour, smoke from the wildfires blanketing the country, and Hurricane Lee, which pounded the East Coast, affecting tens of thousands of people. Joining me now is Dave Phillips, Environment Canada's senior climatologist. Dave, good morning. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Marcia. Wow, what a year it was. Punishing and expensive, destructive, and hey, it's just becoming a pattern. We've seen these so many year after year. I think we had the number one weather story. You've covered it well, and hey, it should be voted as the number one news story. And in fact, not only in Canada, but around the world. I mean, the world was fixated on Canada with all the smoke and the fires. And yeah, it was a very busy year.
A very busy year indeed. And I think you're right to say that the world was focusing on our weather because so many people were feeling the impacts of our smoke. I am wondering, Dave, in terms of active weather, how did 2023 rank?
Well, I've been doing this for 28 years, Marcia. My gosh, I've seen some misery, hardship, and misfortune. Hey, this is the worst dressed list, not the best dressed. There's no good weather on this list generally. And I've never seen a year where the number one story was the most obvious. I mean, it was, in fact, many of the other stories fit into that. The fact that it was hot, that it was dry, that it was smoky, and then, of course, the record fires. I still shake my head over the area burned in Canada. You could take over half the countries in the world and fit them in to that area burned in Canada, and there'd still be more scorched earth left. Take all the fires in the United States for the last 5 years, it would not equate to the area burned in Canada. Record fires in many provinces and territories. It was just absolutely, and very few people saw the smoke, Marcia, but millions and millions smelt the smoke and tasted and felt the ash falling from that. I mean, just ask 100 million Americans and look at those, kind of weather slurs coming out of New York City about Canada. We had some of the most polluted cities in the world in Canada, and that people were in disbelief because here is the air which is washed and polished and cleansed in Canada, and we were exporting some of the most foul weather or smoke and air in the world. So really, in Europe too, it was just absolutely, and you think of the evacuations. Marcia, think about it. I've never been evacuated from my home. 250,000 Canadians had to leave home because of fires and smoke and floods, and it just was very punishing, kind of a cruel year in many ways.
Yeah, and when we'd like to forget, we'll have to see what 2024 brings in terms of the fires. While I have you, Dave, I have to ask you about the lack of a white Christmas in some parts of this country, not parts of Atlantic Canada, which I understand some could be punished by up to 50 centimeters of snow today. But nonetheless, what's your outlook for the holidays, Dave? How are things looking?
Well, Marcia, I really am shaking my head about the fact that in places where, it's death, taxes, and a white Christmas are guaranteed, you're not seeing it at all. I mean, think about some of the cities are the most snowy cities in the world. And I mean, sometimes in the prairies, you can guarantee your white Christmas at Halloween. And now they're seeing green and brown. I mean, what a contrast, Marcy, from last year. You couldn't visit grandma last year. There was too much winter. I mean, the flights were canceled. It was ruined thousands of vacations for Canadians. And here it's wide open. It doesn't feel or doesn't even look like Christmas in many areas. And it's going to stay that way. It's what I call, I'm not a big fan of kind of snow and cold, and that's a terrible thing to say, but it's delightfully boring out there. And people are getting around, and it's just the fact that people aren't even in the Christmas mood. So we need that Christmas card look. I hope there is some snow, a little bit, and some snow in the air to put Canadians in a proper frame of mind. But boy, Marcia, it's looking like in many places like a Vancouver Christmas, which is very rare to see a white Christmas. It's all green and brown, across the great white north. I don't think we're as white as we used to be.